Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone. We will officially get started. We're going to quickly mute the participants just so that we have a better sound in the recording. If anybody has any questions during the session or any comments, please feel free to raise your hand or type in the chat box, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So officially, welcome everyone to the introductory webcast for new learners. This is the first step kicking off the second phase of the Colorado Water Loss Initiative. And I'll introduce Kevin Reedy, a Senior Water Efficiency Specialist with the Colorado Water Conservation Board, to give us a short welcome message.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin. Thanks for joining today on the webinar and kicking off your journey on this this second phase. I'm really excited about this. We're really building a lot of momentum in water loss control across the state, and you guys as new learners, either maybe you're new to your utility or you're new to water loss in general. So I think you're going to be really happy, and I think you're going to learn a lot in this whole process. And for me, from the state perspective, from the Department of Natural Resources perspective, it's a big part of what I'm trying to do at the Colorado Water Conservation Board in terms of water efficiency in general. It's a big part of this as we go forward. There's a lot of moving parts in this whole thing with water efficiency, but water loss is one of those things that I think a lot of people can get behind. And once you go through this, you're going to kind of see a lot more things that you didn't understand maybe were going into your system. Maybe some light bulbs are going to go off. I think that's the case for sure. In the first phase, we saw a lot of that. And so just really thanks for taking the time and the effort to help, the state, and I say that as a whole, not just the Colorado Water Conservation Board, but, all of you, all of us kind of move forward on this, this topic and really kind of get a hold of that loss that we can control and kind of bringing back some revenue to your utilities and kind of getting a better handle on this stuff. And I think, as we update our water plan now, our Colorado water plan is being updated. It'll be done by the end of next year, at the very end of next year. And this is a big, kind of one of those big pillars in that water plan for me to kind of call forward. So I'm looking forward to kind of working with you guys over the next couple of years, and really excited that you're here starting the journey today. So that's what I'll say today, and thanks again. And back to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Kevin. We're all looking forward to getting this program started again. Okay, so first we're going to start with a little bit of a program overview. This is a program that has been going on now for a couple of years. I believe this is our third year working on it. And it has involved a lot of people and a lot of different entities. And without the collaboration of all of these entities, we would have not been able to achieve as much as we have so far with the program. And we're looking forward to achieve even more on this next phase coming in. So we start out with the Colorado Water Conservation Board. This is the main entity promoting this program. It's a program that will help very much with efficiency with the water supplies in Colorado. So it's a very important in that sense. We also had an advisory committee that is composed of utility personnel, very much like a lot of you here, and other industry professionals in the water industry that has been helping us, with some of the strategic decisions of the program and with spreading the word of the program, letting everyone know that it's happening and that they can join and come work with us. We also have other supporting entities as well that have been helping with the promotion of the program. and us, the PM team, who are facilitating this so that all these concepts of water conservation, water loss reduction, so we can spread them to all of you and teach you all and help implement the best practices. So this is our program management team. We are a collaboration between two companies, Water Systems Optimization with WSO and Kavanaugh Solutions. But we're two companies that have been working on these type of projects for quite a few years now. We're working, collaborate very seamlessly, and are looking forward to the next chapter of this program. Here is just a little sample of all the people that are in our team helping throughout these stages. Right here on our presentation, on our webinar today, we have Drew Blackwell and Maher Lugo, and I'll give Drew an opportunity to introduce himself.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Drew Blackwell here. I am the non-revenue water program manager at Kavanaugh, and really excited to be here working on this second phase of the Colorado Water Loss Initiative. Isabel and I worked with really engaged utilities in the first phase, and we're looking forward to working with some new folks this round as well. So thank you all for being here. And I also want to say you've probably started receiving some emails from us. So Isabel, myself, and Maher, who's on the line as well. If you are emailing the team at Colorado Water Loss, you're probably communicating with one of the three of us. So it's a pleasure to put all of your faces with your names here.
Hi, I am Maher Lugo, and as just Drew mentioned, I work here also in the team. I work with WSO. I'm also a validator, so I will be mostly in the logistics and process of the project and the program, and I'm here to help you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Maher. Okay, so now that we have the team, let's talk a little bit about the history of the program so far. So this program officially started 2 years ago with phase 1 of the Colorado Water Loss Initiative. During that phase 1, we had over 50 utilities participate through the whole program. We had quite a bit more sign up as well, and that was equivalent to probably about over 100 water utility or water professionals throughout the state of Colorado that joined us either in some training session or some of the validation exercises that were done in that phase 1. And the main purpose of the program was to train utilities on the best practices for dealing or managing water losses. Right now, the American Water Works Association recommends the practices that are described in the M36 manual as your best tool for helping the utility deal, manage, and reduce losses throughout your distribution system. And as a part of that, we also included the step of validation of the water audit, also considered a best practice, one of the initial practices to really get started with the topic, so that when you're dealing with losses in your system, you have a better understanding of what would be the most beneficial action to take. We don't want to start working on a whole bunch of different things different times, and we don't really know what's working, what's not working, what's really giving us benefit. So this methodology that we're teaching here is kind of a very methodical step-by-step way, so that we can think through the problems, we can think through the issues in the system, and really make informed decisions of where should we invest our effort and our resources to get the best result in tackling the water loss. The program had 4 phases. We had an initial training session, very similar to the training session we're going to have here in phase 2. And then it had a second phase where we worked directly with water utilities on their water audits. It also had a third session, additional training for water utilities, and it concluded with a second session of water audit assistance, where we conducted a level 1 validation of a system's water audit. And these were one-on-one sessions where we could have direct conversations with the utility on what were their what was their system like, what were their circumstances, what was their equipment, what were their results that they were obtaining, and we could provide a more individual recommendations on what would be good next steps based on the results of the water audit that they were working on. So that was the first phase of the program. It was a very successful phase, and right now we're continuing with the second phase. The second phase is going to have some components of that first phase for the new learners, for the people that are joining us now, but it's also going to have some additional work for people who completed phase 1 of the program. Some of that, what we did during phase 1, it can be summarized here. So this is some of the results from water audits that the phase 1 participants obtained during their second stage. As you can see, some of these numbers look like they're kind of all over the place. And this is the kind of assistance that we provided, where they have their own assessments of what the system looks like, and they get different scorings here that you can see with the green lines. And after conversations with us, they can make adjustments to what they think is going on in their system, and end up getting a very different result in their exercise as a result of having the conversations with us during that level 1 validation, so we can help align better what really is going in the system with what an expectation would be. We did that exercise again, and now you can see that the lines are a little bit not as all over the place, and they're starting to get a little bit more in line with their reality. So we can see some progress happening from one stage to the next stage of phase 1. And this is something of what we hope to do with the systems participating here. Some of the key concepts of the program was this was a voluntary environment. So we had very motivated people work in the program. This was not something that was mandated. So people who participated really wanted to work on it and really wanted to learn these concepts. Our main trainings were on M36 methodology concepts and the importance of a level 1 validation, because we want to work with as true information as we can. We can't take action over inaccurate information, but we also know that completely 100% accurate information might not be feasible always. So how do you deal with that uncertainty? How do you deal with trying to improve your information so you can make a better decision on actions to take? We really try to make everything as easy as possible for the utility personnel. We know that everybody is very busy. They're probably doing a lot of different tasks and wearing a lot of different hats in your organization. So we're trying to make this as smooth as possible. Any help that we can provide, any assistance, please feel free to reach out, and we will be glad to help. We want to keep people in the program, and we want to keep people working on this. A lot of our participants felt like they had the capacity and the interest to continue with this program, as we can see with the continuation of the phase 2. And they also showed an appetite for additional learning. They wanted additional training and technical assistance, which is what we're doing with this second phase of the program. So the program objectives are to provide comprehensive training of water loss management. That's what we're hoping that people that participate in here do. But beyond that, then we're going to offer some direct technical assistance to the systems to help them take those first steps in helping them manage losses. So not only teach them about water losses and having them do their assessment of how the utility is performing in terms of water losses, but also helping them with that next step. Okay, I did my assessment. I understand where I am with my water losses. What should I do now? What would be the next action to take? And some of the system will have the opportunity to take that next action through this program. It's been divided between the new learners, which is this group that we have here today. These are people that are new to the program and to the concepts, and they will have the opportunity to participate in all the steps of this second phase. And then we have the advanced learners, who were those utilities that were very active and completed phase 1. So they're already ready to take that next step of what is that technical assistance that I should be doing based on my water loss evaluation that was performed during phase 1. And this is kind of the basic route that the program provides. We are here. We're going to start with some training workshops. We'll be giving more information on those workshops later on, but we'll be offering a series of in-person or virtual workshops throughout the state at different locations throughout Colorado that are going to teach the basics of water auditing and M36 concepts. After those workshops, the systems will have the opportunity to go back and apply those things that they learned to their system and try to compile their water audit for their system. Once they have compiled their water audit, they would go into the technical review and the level 1 validation. So this is where you would get a chance to work one-on-one with one of those members that you saw on the team slide, to go over your water audit, review the information, review your data sources, make sure that the concepts are being applied correctly, make sure that we're understanding the level of uncertainty that we have in the results that we're obtaining, so that you can have a level 1 validated water audit, which will help you determine what's the next thing, what's the best next step that we should take as a system. Once a system has those level 1 validated water audits, they will have the opportunity to go into direct technical assistance. So here in the background, the team will work on doing a ranking and prioritization of technical assistance. So the systems will be categorized and determine what technical assistance would be best for them based on the results of their water audit. And then they will have the opportunity to do that technical assistance. Technical assistance might include source meter testing. It might include doing a deeper analysis of your customer billing data, so that you know you have a more thorough understanding of the consumption, the total consumption from your customers. It could go into looking more thoroughly at your results of customer metering accuracy test results. Or it could be a leakage component analysis, so that you have a better understanding of the different types, different sources of leakage that might be happening in your system. And if I'm talking in a different language right now to you with all these concepts and all of these words, these are all things that will be explained in the workshops and in the training sessions. So I invite you to stay on and learn more about all of these technical assistance opportunities that will be provided in this program. And of course, after the level 1 validations, then there will also be additional training opportunities for more advanced water loss management training later on in the program. And that's the design for the new learners. The advanced participants will be able to go from the beginning to the technical assistance, the ranking and prioritization, and they will go to the more advanced workshops from the beginning of the program. So this is a dual program. We're trying to make it accessible to everybody. If you're learning and you're just starting out, there's opportunities for you. And if you've already been working on these things in the past, there's also opportunity for you to keep moving forward. And with that, I will Oh, I think I might have missed a little bit. Okay, so here we have a little bit more of the explanation of the water audit methodology. And it's really a step-by-step program where you start out with the annual water balance, which is what the first steps of this program is going to be. You look at your sources of data, you look at your water, where is it going? You produce a certain amount of water, some of that water goes to your customers that you're serving it, what happens to the rest? So this is a methodology to look at these in a methodical way, and help you understand what's happening with the water in the system. Then you start looking at your uncertainty in that estimate, those estimates and that assessment that you did. And then you decide, what level of uncertainty is a little bit too big so that we can make informed decisions, and we should maybe start looking into more detail in the data before we decide what our next step is. And some of the technical assistance that will be happening in this program will help utilities with that uncertainty. Either doing additional analysis of their production data or their apparent loss sources, or even looking into the real loss profile, what kind of leakage they have in the system that will help them understand how to deal with that leakage. Then we also start looking at a cost benefit analysis and how low should we go kind of analysis. The losses in your system have a value. They're either expenses when you're producing the water, or they're revenue losses when people are using some of your water and you're not getting revenue for it. So this analysis helps you understand what is the value of the water that you're losing. So if you're recovering it, what is the benefit on the other side of recovering that water? And that helps you determine a good plan of action that might not be too overburdensome financially speaking. So you understand that this resources that you're spending in your strategies are going to be have a good payback. They're really going to give you results that will be beneficial to your system. And then intervention. Once you determine that what interventions will give you good benefit when it comes to costs and recoveries, potential recoveries, then you go into the intervention. Some of these interventions will be available also in this program of technical assistance. And then this is a continuous cycle where you start intervention, but you need to keep monitoring with your water audit on a regular basis. You want to make sure that your intervention is working, that you're getting results that you're expecting. And you also want to maintain a good monitoring of the performance. Water losses is a thing that if you don't look out for it, and if you don't work with it and monitor it, it's always going to go up. It just goes one way unless you work with it. And that's when the monitoring comes into play. It helps you know when things are, getting a little higher than they should. And that's just a cycle that repeats itself. And this here is kind of just an example. And I really like the way that Drew explains this one. So I think, Drew, if you're okay with that, I'll let you go for this one.
Yeah, sounds good, Isabel. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing from my screen over here. Right. All right, as I get this going here. Okay. All right, fantastic. Hopefully everybody can see my screen here. So I really like the way Isabel laid out that big picture approach. It really shows the evolution of a water loss program, and really adheres to the American Water Works Association M36 manual for water auditing and loss control programs. That big picture approach that Isabel just showed, that gives us that step-by-step approach to to really make sure that we're getting the best available data to make the most informed decisions. What we're showing here is perhaps a scenario where some of us may have found ourselves in, or could find ourselves in, without taking that prescripted approach that we're going to be learning about during this program. This particular scenario is showing a utility that's tracking their water losses as a percentage of their supply input. I'll talk about percentages here in a little bit further in just a moment, but tracking it as a percentage here in this yellow dashed line. The blue is the supply volume, the green is the billed consumption, but the yellow dashed line is what I want you to pay attention to, tracking their water loss as a percentage. And it can be quite misleading or not really painting the full picture here. So for this particular utility, looking at it month to month, starting from left to right, their percentage in water loss starts to go up a little bit. And then around November, we start to see it taper off a little bit. So, wiping the sweat off their brow and taking a breath, but then they start to see that percentage go up again, to the point where they're no longer worried about it. They're feeling like they have to take some action to control their water losses. And that's when we see a lot of utilities they leapfrog over those first three stages that Isabel showed and go straight to investing in some type of intervention. Maybe that's leak detection. Maybe it's another form of intervention you have here, but without taking those preliminary steps, then we're not properly understanding the water loss profile in our system, and therefore we're not properly understanding the proper way to invest in that water loss intervention strategy. A big part of this program is understanding what this big picture approach is. And it all starts with using the water audit software and establishing a baseline of water auditing data to make informed decisions. So that's really going to be the broad stroke of what our objectives here are with this group of new learners. I do want to add that this is a fantastic time to start learning a little bit more about water loss control and the AWWA M36 methodology. Just last December, the newest version of the water audit software was released. So that's what we're going to be working with you guys. So it is the best available industry standard tool to use to quantify our water losses. Isabel mentioned a term called level 1 validation, where we are your utility will be working with one of our teachers throughout the program. And we're really sitting down in a remote session and learning more about your utility through an interview style meeting. And part of what comes out of that is assessing how reliable the data is that's going into our water audit. And so one of the resources that is essentially the playbook of conducting a level 1 validation with a water utility has also just been released this year as well. So some of the standard tools that are used throughout the water loss industry have just been updated, or the M36 manual is currently being updated, scheduled to be published later in 2022. So these are three significant resources that they've just been updated and are continuing to be updated. So it's a great time to get involved in this technical assistance program. One note is, remember back in our scenario, we were watching this utility track their water losses as a percentage. Whether you guys have been tracking your water losses as a percentage leading up to this program, or not tracking your water losses at all, or just through some other rudimentary estimate, the way we want to emphasize that we're going to be looking at our water losses are in terms of volume, how much water we're losing each year, in terms of value, how much that's costing us each year, and then in terms of validity, and that is understanding how reliable the data is going into the water audit in the first place. So notice there's no percentage of water loss here that we are looking at our results through using the water audit software. We're always going to be reinforcing that we're looking at this in terms of volume, value, and validity throughout the program. So we've tossed out a couple of terms here, water loss, non-revenue water. So the intent here for this portion of our webcast is to give just some high-level base knowledge of what it is we're talking about here when we're talking about water loss. So quite simply, a water loss is defined as our water supplied minus our authorized consumption, any consumption that is dictated to be an authorized use in your system. And so that's the rudimentary calculation for water losses. But as you may see or understand here, that does not tell us a whole lot. Whether that just gives us a single volume or even if we're tracking it as a percentage, we saw in that scenario that can be very misleading as well. So what the M36 methodology does is breaks down our water losses a little bit further. So want to go through that. And now we're going to focus on what our non-revenue water is and how that is determined. So again, we're starting off here with our water supplied. Maybe you have a treatment plant where you're treating some surface water. Maybe you have some groundwater wells. Maybe you're purchasing some treated sources to deliver to your customers. Every system is going to be different. Actually, that's why we love doing these programs, because every utility that we work with has a different setup and is going to be different in so many ways. But we start off with taking our water supply, the treated sources that are metered going into our distribution system, and then we have that authorized consumption. These are things that we're all familiar with and what we deal with on a daily basis, delivering that treated water to our customers. And that treated water is either most likely is billed and it's metered. We may have some that is not metered, but we're billing to it. So we may have some flat rate customers there. But that revenue water is what we're usually most tuned into in our water system. There may be some uses of that authorized consumption that are neither billed or metered. We want to understand what those volumes are, because that will be a component of our non-revenue water. So again, we take the difference between our supply and our consumption. That gives us our water losses. But I mentioned just a moment ago that we want to break that down a little bit further, and the water audit allows us to do that. So the two segments that we break out our water losses into, the first one is known as apparent losses. So this is the water that's making it to the end user, but we're not measuring it accurately, or you're not capturing the revenue for that. So the easy example there is an inaccurate customer meter. So the water's making it to the customer, but the meter is under registering, and that's revenue lost in your system. So these are also referred to as paper losses. Theft in your system, we know it occurs in every system. It's difficult to quantify, but there is a mechanism to estimate that in the water audit software that we'll be working with. And also systematic data handling errors. There's so many touch points between the time that your meters are read to the time the bills go out that there are opportunities for error to introduce himself in that data chain. So that first segment of that first separation of water losses is known as apparent losses. The second one is what we all most commonly think of when we hear the word water loss. We think of physical leaks in our system. So main and service breaks and losing water physically into the ground. And these, so our real losses, the physical leaks, apparent losses, that water that's making it to the end user, but we're not capturing the revenue for that, as well as any unbilled authorized consumption These three components and their subcomponents make up what we're calling non-revenue water. And again, the way we're looking at the non-revenue water is how much we're losing volumetrically and how much it's costing us each year. We're gonna break this down further and go into each one of these different components in detail during the workshop, but just a high-level review of how we are looking at breaking down our water losses in our non-revenue water. So the industry standard tool that we're going to be using, I mentioned version 6 of the water audit software, just released in December 2020. There is it's available to anyone at the AWWA water loss control website. We have a link to that on our program website that I'll share here in a little bit. But as the name suggests, the free water audit software is free, so it is freely available to download. It's also in a format that we're all familiar with. It's an Excel format. It's called the software, but it's actually a really robust Excel spreadsheet. It's got a lot of good tools under the hood there. We mentioned the validity. That's another way in which we want to review our results. One of the great things about this newest version of the water audit software is it is much more user-friendly and transparent in the way that we are assessing how valid the data is that is going into calculating our water losses for us. So just a snapshot of that interactive data grading process that is built into the newest version of the software. And then, of course, we have some output tabs on the software that help us understand the volume of water of the non-revenue water that we're losing, as well as the total cost on an annual basis. This all sums it up nice and neatly, but we'll be working with this and through the course of the program, getting hands-on the software, making sure we're familiar with it. There's some common exercises before we start actually using your utility-specific data into the water audit software. Actually, it is the latest and greatest tool there. As a matter of fact, just yesterday I got this in the mail from the journal AWWA with the feature article being this industry standard tool for quantifying our water losses and the improvements that have been made in this newest version 6. So you're in good hands with this particular tool to help quantify your water losses in your system. The level 1 validation, volume, value, and validity, again, are the ways we're looking at our results of our water losses. What we're going to be working with this group is a level 1 validation of your water audit, and that really seeks to achieve 2 objectives. The first objective is really to make sure that the information that you're putting into your water audit is correct and it's following the AWWA M36 methodology. Through a review of some supporting documentation like your supply data and your consumption data, we're able to give it a review and make sure the numbers are calculated and going into the water audit correctly, going into the right input fields in the water audit. The second objective that we are seeking to achieve is to assess how reliable that data is. And so that's a process that's more qualitative in nature, looking at your practices and policies that you currently have within your system to help us understand the level of certainty that we have in a particular input going into your water audit. And so as Isabel mentioned, this is a pathway. There is a pathway for this group on the call to continue on to the more advanced track. So this new learner group, most of you are here because you indicated at the time of registration that you're a beginner or this is brand new information to you. So we'll start with a series of workshops to really get you acclimated to the AWWA M36 methodology, get you familiar with using the water audit software. And then we will move to that level 1 validation process, where we're going to be working with your utility specific data, and you'll have a dedicated team member on our program management team walking you through the process, asking the appropriate questions, and doing the due diligence of making sure that we're bringing in the right information into the water audit correctly. But from that, there is that pathway to continue on with the advanced track of this program towards some more of that direct technical assistance that Isabel mentioned. Just a very rough timeline is we're going to start some of these workshops as early as late November and carry those workshops through March 2022. For those that have the appetite to continue on to the advanced track, we'll have a series of workshops that will come around in the fall, in next fall as well. That will help get you that base knowledge to the more advanced track before heading into some of that more direct technical assistance. So for this group, workshops again will be starting as early as November through March 2022, and then those remote sessions that we're going to have for that level 1 validation will be occurring in the second and third quarter of 2022. So just a rough schedule here, and this is also available on the program website as well, so you can just kind of see the bigger picture of the program and the duration of the program and where you might fall in line there. Isabel already mentioned this, but just going to repeat some of the direct technical assistance that is offered if you choose to continue on through the advanced track. Source meter testing, customer meter testing and data analysis, the billing data analysis, leakage component analysis to understand our leakage profile a bit further, and leak detection or leak detection guidance. These are all things that through the water audit and that big picture approach that Isabel shared earlier become more clear what is going to be the most appropriate direct technical assistance for your system. So it's not going to be source meter testing for all the participants. We may go down and realize that perhaps a billing data analysis is going to be more appropriate based on the information that we've gathered from you through the course of the program. All right, so again, that's a very high level of some of the key concepts that we're delivering to the new learner group through the Colorado Water Loss Initiative. Now I just want to go over some very quick next steps here of the program. So if you haven't already visited our program website, please take some time to go and look at the material on there. It's going to be evolving through the course of the program, especially with the resources page there. The website is coloradowaterloss.org. So that's also going to be a place where signing up for workshops and for signing up for level 1 validation sessions with a member of our team, all of that's going to occur on the website. So we'll show some workshop dates as well, and I think we'll have enough time just to kind of flash the website and show you around real quick. But this is really going to be the hub of all the information in the program, resources, scheduling, any news and updates to the program. So make sure you save that, you bookmark that website, and visit that one frequently. All right, so the workshops that are coming up, the first workshop for our new learner group is really just a short month away, and this one is going to be held in Denver on November 30th. One of the things that we were very interested in learning at the registration time was your comfort level with an in-person workshop or a virtual workshop. Or a lot of you were okay with both, but there were enough preferences in a virtual workshop opportunity for us to decide that offering 2 virtual workshops was necessary. So at this point, we have our first in-person workshop on November 30th, and we have a virtual offering in December 14th through 15th. Now that virtual offering is going to be, each one is going to be 4 hours long, right? In-person workshop will be a full day, so 8:30 to 3:30 with a lunch break there. But the virtual offering will be from 8:30 to noon each day. Just understanding that in a virtual environment, there's a happy medium there to make sure that we're not losing folks from being on screen for a full day. So if you do want to take advantage of that virtual workshop, just know that that's a two-day workshop in 4-hour increments each day there. So you would need to attend both of those days on the 14th and 15th. Moving forward into 2022, we do have plans to move around the state and hold in-person workshops in an area near you. If there's not an area that is feasible for you to get to, we do have another virtual offering as well in March. So there's 2 virtual offerings that you can take advantage of. We love the in-person workshops. It's really where those connections are made, but we understand in this time we need to provide both virtual and in-person opportunities for everyone, so everybody's comfortable with that. So the November 30th and the December virtual dates are available on our website right now to go ahead and sign up for. If you want to wait and to see what in-person workshops will be available January through March, we should have those available to you guys soon, and we'll let everybody know as soon as those dates are confirmed. So before you do that, I want to let you know who should attend these workshops. So we always encourage folks to at least bring a representative from supply metering, someone who's responsible for customer metering, reading the meters, testing the meters if that's being done, someone representative from your billing department, and someone from upper management to understand the big picture of what your team that you're putting together and is trying to accomplish through this program. We understand that some of you may wear several hats in your system. It may be a small system, and you're like, hey, I've got someone that does that does all 4 of these things. That's fine. But if you have a specific representative who is most knowledgeable in these areas, we encourage you to bring those folks to the workshop. As far as what to bring, if you're attending our in-person workshop, bringing a laptop, as I mentioned, we'll do some common exercises together. So a laptop will be handy there. One amongst your team, or one for each individual, whatever you have the resources to use. A laptop is suggested. Of course, just bring all your questions and your enthusiasm to this program. These are all meant to be very collaborative and open. In fact, I think Isabel Maher would agree that a lot of the great things that we see during these workshops is the peer-to-peer learning, utilities talking amongst themselves, understanding that they do this at this program or at this utility, another one does it a different way, and you start seeing ideas shared throughout the room, be it in person or virtual. So we look forward to meeting you guys in either environment during these workshops. Before I go to our Q&A here, guys, I do want to just open up the website real quickly and just kind of give you guys a peek at what that looks like. And let's see, Isabel, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the website on your end? Okay, thank you. So coloradowaterloss.org, about the program, you can read a little bit about what occurred in phase one. Isabel gave us a high-level summary there. And then, of course, we talked more in depth about phase two, the offerings here. So more of a summary of each of those phases there. For your next steps, if you are interested in taking advantage of the in-person workshop in Denver next month, or perhaps the virtual opportunity in December, we would direct you guys to this workshop sign-up tab and the new learner group. And we have a scheduling app that's built in here that you can go ahead and register for that. Again, if you want to wait until we see those dates at other locations around the state, we should have those confirmed soon. Your resources tab, this will continue to evolve throughout the program. These recordings, like the webcast we're having today, any materials that we're sharing, common resources through the water loss industry, we'll be adding to this site frequently throughout the program. So make sure you're checking back here. And then our team, the best way to get in touch with our team is going to be through through email at team@coloradowaterloss.org. But these are the folks that you're going to be primarily working with through any questions that you have about the program, programmatic questions. But we also have a good deep bench of expert teachers here who you may be working with through your workshops or through those level 1 validation sessions that we talked about. So you are in great hands with all of these teachers here, and all of them are looking forward to working with you guys. So with that, I think that we have a little bit of time for some question and answer, and we'll happy to take those through the chat or through coming off mute, and we can take those questions verbally. And I'll while folks are thinking about any questions that they have, I'll see if our team, if Isabel and Maher, if you have anything that you wanted to add that I may have missed there towards the end.
Thanks, Drew. No, I think you were good. I don't think I have anything to add. I would like to remind everyone this is a free program being offered to all of you, sponsored by the Colorado Water Conservation Board. So it's a good opportunity to take advantage of some good, very useful training for your system. Yep.
So a lot of questions coming through the chat of the cost of the program. The cost to participate in the program it's absolutely free. This is a program offered through the state. I will so the cost to participate is your time and effort, your time attending the workshops and participating in the different stages that we walked through here today, and we'll reiterate throughout the program. I will say in phase one, we're always interested in learning folks' experiences through these programs. So in phase one, we surveyed the participants that participated, and we found that they perceived that the time and effort that they spent in the program was minimal, and then the benefit that they got from the program was high. So it was the time and effort were not overly burdensome. They were reasonable, and they got a great benefit from participating in the program. If anyone is interested in learning about how many hours these participants in phase one said that they spent, we have that information, but it's minimal throughout the course of the program, and we know it'll be a benefit to you guys. All right, so one of the questions: how much power does this give us to change the problems that we could find? So the great thing about the M36 methodology is, going through, looking at that big picture that Isabel showed us earlier. This is using the water loss software is really the first step towards effective water loss control management. So as we work through this and build out your water audit and then conduct that level 1 validation session, it'll become more apparent what recommendations are going to be tailored to your utility. For example, if a utility is not doing, if we go through our discussion and we're not doing any supply meter testing in our system, that's probably a first, a top recommendation to at least assess the feasibility of doing that in your system. Just to give you an idea of the back and forth that we may have between your utility staff and a member of our team after going through this. But it does give you better information to make more informed decisions on what your next steps are in your water loss program. So as far as the power to change problems that you can find, I think there's no other program that I know that gives you opportunity to start as a new learner and get the baseline information and base knowledge of water auditing, and then move through to direct technical assistance. It really is a big win for any utility that's starting out with this to go through all of those steps and get that direct technical assistance. So I would encourage that.
If I may add a little to that, Drew, and I know I'll sound a little cliche here, but it gives you the power of data. So this is a very logical method that allows you to look at things in a logical way. And the data usually shows you very easily what, or not easily, but the data sometimes show you what the answer should be. And it's with that data, with that information at hand, it's usually easier to convince upper management or the people that you need to convince on what the next step or what the most beneficial next step is. And it also offers you some sense of value in a monetary sense, which is also makes it easier to go to management and say, hey, this might cost about this much. The benefit that we might get is about this much also. Which is very powerful in terms of convincing people or helping people understand why you need to do that next step.
Great. Another question that came in: does the water model calculate for flushing as well as theft? These are great questions, and I love the level of engagement already before our first workshop. So yes, it does account for both of these components. So flushing would be an authorized consumption, and there is a place in the water audit that has a default option for estimating your flushing if it's neither billed or metered, which would be the case for most systems. However, if you are tracking your flushing through some form of estimation method, it's always recommended to use that volume, that source of data in the water audit, if you have that. Some utilities are doing that and some are not. So if you're not tracking your flushing or any other known consumption that is not billed or metered, then there is a default option in the software. Same as theft, which would be an apparent loss. In the software refers to it as an unauthorized consumption. And we know it occurs in every system, but it's quite difficult to quantify. So it does estimate, the default option does estimate what your theft may be by taking 0.25% of your billed metered authorized consumption. And there's also the option to report a different volume for your theft, just like there is in the unbilled, unmetered consumption in the water audit, but they both do carry a default option if you don't have data to support that. Finally, the other thing to add there is we'll be reinforcing throughout the program that we'll be looking at the outputs of our water audit in terms of volume, value, and validity. In fact, the water audit in version 6 does not report water loss as a percentage. because it's difficult to gain any insight from that. Rather, we're going to be looking at it in terms of the volume. How much water are we losing each year? And then how much is that costing us each year? And it's not going to be a direct relationship. Your greatest loss volumetrically may be in leakage, but your greatest cost annually may be in your customer metering inaccuracies. So it's important to look at it from both perspectives. Fantastic questions.
Okay, well, with that, that concludes our introductory webinar, our kickoff for the program. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and please go and register for the workshops. We hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.